How tragedy unites. Let's play hardball. Good evening, I'm Chris Matthews in Washington. Let me start with the aftershock. After midnight tonight, we get through a week of this attack inside our country that killed 12 and wounded dozens more. So what's it done to us? What's this event stirred in this country? Made us different from the people who watched this program, say, just a week ago? I want to know. I want to hear again the many separate human actions that night that tell us what kind of a country we are and where we are headed. I want to hear not just about the villain and the victims, but also the heroes, the impulsive good guys that night, the ones who showed what Hemingway defined as courage, grace under fire, and under pressure. Again, I want to know how Aurora is going to affect this country, us. Well, today brought the announcement that Denver, Colorado, just miles from the tragedy, will host the first presidential debate this autumn. This all but guarantees that the two presidential candidates, President Obama and Mitt Romney, will be asked about the tragedy. What should they say? Well, let's ask Governor Ed Rendell of Pennsylvania what Obama should say and what Rick Tower thinks Mitt Romney should say. It's going to be interesting. To start with, let's hear the personal stories following a tragedy like Aurora. Look at how they're heartbreaking they are. And also tell us a lot about the spirit of community and caring in this country. Here are a few of them, including one relayed by the president himself. Let's listen.
I kind of poked my head up at that point and realized, oh my gosh, nobody's in here. It's just us. There were a few other heads here and there, people I could see leaving the theater, but really the theater was empty, it felt like. So that's when I got out, and I kept thinking that. It was oh my gosh, I think John just took a bullet for me. I was thinking about what a great hero he is. He saved me and he gave me the opportunity to live. He would have done it for anyone that day. The nearest person sitting next to him, he would have been this person needs my help now. That's just who he was. And everybody knew it. He went above and beyond to help everyone.
And it's really amazing to see how the community is pulling together. And as I was walking up, I was thinking whatever he was trying to accomplish, he got the opposite, because people clearly care. And it means a lot to me. I'm really glad I came to see that.
Stephanie, 21 years old, had the presence of mind to drop down on the ground with her, pull her out of the aisle, place her fingers over where Allie had been wounded, and applied pressure the entire time while the gunman was still shooting. Allie told Stephanie she needed to run. Stephanie refused to go. Instead, actually, with her other hand, called 911 on her cell phone.
These are the stories I'm just getting myself about this tragedy of a week ago after midnight. And I'm stunned. I was so impressed again that even for casual moviegoers that went out to see a Batman movie after midnight to catch the first showing would behave in this way. Governor Rendell, I don't want to talk politics right away here tonight. I want to talk about something about our country, that these people, a couple of guys in that theater, saved the lives of the women sitting next to them. They got killed themselves. This is something you don't expect just right off the bat among civilians. When they weren't warned, they're about to go into combat, basically.
It shouldn't be a surprise, Chris, that two of the three men who did that were in the military. Because our military are heroes and they're called on to do stuff like that on a daily basis. But look, we are a great country. We have a sense of community. We used to care for each other and take care of each other, and politics never got in the way. If someone lost their job, we all pitched in and took care of them until they got back on their feet. I think we've lost a little bit of that in the country. And when we band together in tragedies like this, it shows us what America could be. But what we have to do is to do something to limit the possibility that something like this happens again. We can never eliminate that possibility, but gosh, in the name of those victims, we ought to do something.
Rick Tower, your view about this. I'm impressed when people turn on the TV and identify with something that happened 3,000 miles away. And they would not identify with these people except they're largely fellow Americans. There's something American about this country of ours that goes beyond politics. And the sympathy, the real... I've been listening to it on other networks all week, and it is something.
Well, it is amazing. I mean, it's something that everybody can relate to. We all go to the movies. In fact, my daughter went to The Dark Knight the night before, and I had all of these mixed feelings about letting her go, because you think of what happened to those people the night before. They simply went to a movie, and they either ended up dead or 70 or 50-something ended up wounded. But in all this, you know, it's the human story that comes out. I mean, it's an awful thing for the country to witness. Nobody should go through it. But the stories of people who would stay behind. And you think to yourself, would I do that? And nobody knows until it's there. And then yet people did that. People put their lives on the line for others. It's remarkable.
Well, you know, we debate a lot of good things on this program, and I love debating like nobody's business. You know, Governor Rendell and Rick, and I think we have real arguments about the future of this country, how we tax ourselves, how many guns we let get into people's hands. All of these things are great debates. But the viciousness sometimes, I think, between people, not just different points of view, but different people gets out of hand sometimes. I mean, people really begun to hate each other about their politics. I don't like the point of view of the top 1% economically, but I don't hate them. I don't like them. They're well off. You know, I just don't like a lot of the point of view politically, because I think fairness is a key issue in this country. But this idea that we've gotten to now where we got a country, I thought, let's take a look at what President Obama said back when he was just a candidate for president. I'd like to see what he had to say a while ago. If we have that, we can get that up. It's what Obama said in 2004 about America and the blue states and the red states. Let's take a look at that, because I think he had the right tone then. I hope he can get it back again. Here's the president when he wasn't the president, when he was just a freshman. Actually, he wasn't even a senator yet. He was a nominated candidate of one party for the Senate out in Illinois. Here he is. Obama, I think, at his best.
I stand here knowing that my story is part of the larger American story, that I owe a debt to all of those who came before me, and that in no other country on earth is my story even possible.
Rick, that's why we like them.
Well, I think that's right, and I think
unity.
I think if you remember President Clinton after Oklahoma City, I think that to me that was a turning point of the president.
Same deal.
It was the way he handled that, the way he came there, and to see how we'll see how this tragedy. I don't know how it's going to play politically. We'll see.
Governor, Bill Clinton, your close friend. Nobody was ever better as the nation's older brother than he was after Oklahoma City.
He was phenomenal, and I got to see him firsthand when Ron Brown and all those Americans went down in the plane crash. I went to Dover with the president as the bodies came off the plane, and I saw him talk to those families, and Chris, he was unbelievable. The empathy that he showed and the way he comforted them and made them feel that their loved one was special and doing a mission for the country, it was awesome. I mean, say what you will about Bill Clinton, but there was nobody better at talking about this country and why this is a great country and bringing us all together.
Let's take a look at the president now. Now it's going to get tricky now, because Rick and I, we're all going to disagree now, as we do in this country. But let's not get it personal here for at least this show. Speaking at the National Urban League Conference just last night, President Obama addressed the issue of gun control. He was very careful. He was speaking, however, as we are right now, in the wake of this tragedy, where a guy came in there with a semi-automatic weapon with a 100-round clip in it. Let's listen.
I, like most Americans, believe that the Second Amendment guarantees an individual the right to bear arms. I think we recognize the traditions of gun ownership that passed on from generation to generation, that hunting and shooting are part of a cherished national heritage. But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals. As we convene these conversations, let's be clear. Even as we debate government's role, we have to understand that when a child opens fire on another child, that there's a hole in that child's heart that government alone can't fill.
Well, that's for sure. By the way, this country has an unusual record. While 2/3 of the murders in this country are committed by firearms, another 4,000 are committed by other means of killing. We have a violent streak in us that doesn't require a gun in your hand to execute. Here's Brian Williams, by the way, on the other side of the argument, asking Mitt Romney about his position on guns following the Colorado shooting. Let's listen to the governor.
But I don't happen to believe that America needs new gun laws. A lot of what this young man did was clearly against the law. But the fact that it was against the law did not prevent it from happening.
As a practical matter, do you have a problem with being able to buy 6,000 rounds of ammunition off the internet?
Well, I don't know that I'm going to be able to find a way to prevent people who want to provide harm from being able to purchase things that could carry out that harm. What I want to do is find the people who represent a danger to America and find them and keep them from having the capacity to use or buy things that could hurt other people.
Of course, that's the challenge, being able to do what they do. What Tom Cruise did in Minority Report, finding out criminals before they're criminals. Who wouldn't like to do that? Okay, I'm getting back in my usual status here, causing trouble. But here's the situation. Semi-automatic weapons, AK-47s. Dianne Feinstein pushed through that weapon, the assault weapons ban. It lasted for a while, then it died. What do you think we have to do about these semi-automatic weapons? We can bring a clip of 100 rounds with you and walk into a room and really be a terrorist.
First of all, a 100-round clip is illegal. Okay, so that law was already broken. Second of all, he didn't have an AK-47. He had an AR-15.
How are they different?
Well, an AR-15 is the civilian version of an M16. Mm-hmm. It is not. It is semi-automatic. It is not fully automatic.
Well, I know that.
And it shoots a .223. .223 is one of the most common varmint rifles in America. So it doesn't shoot any harder. It may shoot faster if you can shoot, but it's
60 rounds a minute.
60 rounds because he had 100. He had 100 clips.
60 rounds a minute.
But that's already illegal. That was already illegal. The guy clearly has some sort of mental defect, mental deficiency. I think today he said he doesn't remember the incident at all. But how do you predict that? How are you going to predict?
Well, he would say that.
Right. Well, yeah.
Well, he would say he forgot. I'd say I forgot. I'd act deranged in the courtroom too. I would put on that show, that Anthony Perkins show he put on in the courtroom the other day. I'd put that one on too. Governor, here's your thought here. You represent a state that's heavily pro-gun, Pennsylvania. You did for all those years. You wouldn't have gotten into that office if you've been anti-gun, because it is deer hunter country. We know that. How do we reconcile the needs of the rural communities to have their gun rights respected with the needs of big city mayors and people that live in row houses to not have kids on the street corner with semi-automatics?
Well, let me start off by saying, Chris, that's actually not correct. When I was mayor of Philadelphia, I headed the effort by the mayors to sue the gun manufacturers. So my role as someone who was in favor of reasonable controls on guns was pretty well known, and it was used against me in the election. And in a state that has the second highest NRA membership, behind only Texas, I won 3 times for governor, 10%, 12%, and 21%. So much. So
where were you on? Okay, correct me completely. Where were you on guns? Do you support the Second Amendment, obviously, and you support the right to carry to have a shotgun in your house?
There's no question. Handguns, shotguns, all those things. But it is insane for a civilized country to make it legal for a citizen to carry an automatic weapon that can dispose of 60 bullets in
It's not
1 minute.
It wasn't an automatic weapon.
A semi-automatic weapon. It doesn't matter. It can shoot 60 bullets. I shot an M16 in the Army. I know what an M16 can do. It's one purpose. It's to kill people and kill them quickly. We're insane if we let these weapons be legal, imported, sold, or distributed. Secondly, we ought to go back to the assault weapon ban on any clip that has more than 10 bullets in it. Remember, this young man went into Gander Mountain and Bass Pro to buy his Glock, his semi-automatic Glock, and his semi-automatic A-15. There's no way that there are gun owners, there are NRA members who agree with that. After Gabby Giffords was shot, Chris, 71% of the people in the country said we should make it illegal to have a magazine clip that has more than 10 bullets in it. And that was a factor in Loeffner's ability to kill all that people, and it's a factor in Holmes's ability to kill all those people. If he couldn't get his hands on a semi-automatic weapon, he would not have been able to kill and injure 70 people. There's no way in that period of time he'd be able to do it. And it makes sense. Are we going to be able to eliminate these incidents? No. Can we limit the harm? Absolutely, yes, we can limit the harm. And as a civilized society, we have no choice but to do it. And if our politicians don't have the guts to do it, shame on them.
Governor, as you know, the 100 clips is already illegal. But imagine if 1 or 2 people.
But 33 clips. Loeffner had a 33-clip magazine, bullet magazine, and that was legal. That was legal.
I know
33. 33.
My guess, Governor, is that there are at least 2 or 3 people who were in that theater that night who had a concealed carry weapon, who didn't bring their weapon into Century 16 because it wasn't allowed as a gun-free zone, and they wish to God that they had that weapon. And I think
that would have been wonderful, Rick. We would have had in the dark a shootout battle. You know how many innocent people would have gotten killed by the other shots?
Okay, there we go.
That's insane.
Now we know inside your eyes.
Insane.
You're for right to carry. He thinks it's reasonable gun control.
You guys are nuts. You guys are nuts.
Hardball's back to normal. Thank you very much, Ed Rendell, who has now clarified his position. I thought you took the Bob Casey position. Anyway, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I ran against Bob Casey.
I know you beat him too. Thank you, Rick Tower. Thank you.